The new CFO eliminated 60% of our overnight trauma staff, just deleted their positions from the budget spreadsheet, replaced experienced nurses and technicians with acceptable risk calculations. My team had been working nights for years, saving lives while the hospital slept. And this entitled 42-year-old insurance executive, fresh from denying claims at a major carrier, decided that a $1.2 million annual savings was worth more than having people ready when death came knocking at 3 a.m. What he didn't know was that emergency rooms don't care about your quarterly projections. They don't schedule traumas around your efficiency metrics. And when his own son came crashing through those doors with a ruptured artery and minutes to live, he learned that some risks aren't acceptable, no matter what the spreadsheet says. But before I tell you about the moment Gavin Pierce fell to his knees in my ER begging me to save the boy he'd condemned with his own policies, about him watching helplessly as his calculated risk bled out because the blood bank was locked and the surgeon was stuck in traffic, about his career ending in the same trauma bay where his arrogance nearly killed his only child, let me take you back to the beginning. To the day I learned that some people think hospital safety protocols are just suggestions. My name is Dr. Mason Rourke. I'm 42 years old, chief of trauma surgery at St. Catherine's Medical Center in Boston. I've been running this ER for 11 years. And in all that time, I've followed one sacred rule. You staff for the worst night, not the average night. Because when you staff for average, people die on the worst nights. The overnight trauma team isn't arbitrary. It's built on decades of data. Cardiac surgeons on-site because aortic dissections don't wait. Blood bank techs available because massive transfusions can't be delayed. Full nursing staff because when 3 ambulances arrive simultaneously at 2 a.m., you don't have time to call for backup. It's designed to be ready, redundant, uncompromising, unless someone with budget authority decides to compromise it. I'll never forget the sound of Gavin Pierce's Italian leather shoes clicking against the hospital linoleum at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. That rhythmic, confident tap-tap-tap that announced his arrival like a death sentence for my department. He carried a leather portfolio under his arm, the kind that cost more than most of my nurses made in a week, and wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The kind of smile men wear when they're about to ruin your life and call it optimization. Dr. Rourke, do you have a moment? It wasn't really a question. I'd seen administrators come and go. Each one promised to revolutionize healthcare while their real job was finding new ways to squeeze blood from stones. But Gavin Pierce was different. He came from the insurance side, a world where human suffering was measured in actuarial tables and claim denial rates. I followed him into the conference room. He'd already set up his laptop and projector. The first slide made my stomach drop. Overnight efficiency project, reclaiming wasted capital, we're hemorrhaging money, Mason. He used my first name like we were old friends. Look at these numbers. Between midnight and 6 a.m., your trauma team and blood bank staff are essentially being paid to sleep. Full salaries, benefits, overtime rates, for an average of 2.3 emergencies per night. He clicked to the next slide. Red circles highlighted every position he planned to eliminate. 60% reduction in overnight staffing. Cardiothoracic surgeon moves to on-call status from home. Blood bank goes to skeleton crew with security holding emergency access keys. We're talking $1.2 million in annual savings. Conservative estimate. My hands grip the edge of the conference table. Gavin, those 2.3 emergencies you're talking about, they're the difference between someone's father coming home or leaving in a body bag. When trauma rolls in at 3 a.m., a gunshot, a car wreck, a ruptured aorta, we have minutes. Not hours. Minutes. He smiled that insurance adjuster smile. The smile of a man who'd spent years telling desperate people that their life-saving treatment wasn't covered under their policy. I understand your concerns, Mason, but the data doesn't support maintaining this level of redundancy. Statistically, the risk is acceptable. Acceptable to who? To the board. To our shareholders, to the financial health of this institution. He closed his laptop with a soft click. Sign off on a new schedule by Friday, or I'll find a trauma chief who understands the realities of modern healthcare economics. I should have quit right there. Should have walked out and let him learn the hard way what happens when you treat human lives like line items on a balance sheet. But I had a team that depended on me, patients who needed us, and a stubborn belief that I could somehow protect my people from what was coming. I was wrong. The cuts happened fast, brutally fast. Jennifer got her termination notice via email. 15 years as my best trauma nurse could star in 4 lines on a corpse in the dark, and she found out she was redundant through a form letter. No meeting, no explanation. Just your position has been eliminated effective immediately. Mike, our overnight blood bank tech, who could cross-match blood types in his sleep, discovered he was fired when his badge stopped working at the door. He'd been there 12 years. He called me from the parking lot, confused, asking if there'd been some mistake. There was no mistake, just efficiency. One by one, I watched the people who made our nights survivable get fed into Gavin Pierce's optimization machine. The experienced respiratory therapist who could intubate in impossible conditions. The senior radiologist who could read a CT scan in 3 minutes flat. The pharmacy tech who knew which medications we'd need before we asked. Gone. All of them. Replaced by acceptable risk calculations. The hospital after midnight became a different place. Hallways that used to hum with quiet activity now echoed with emptiness. The trauma bay, once staffed with a full team ready for anything, now had me, one nurse, and whatever resident was unfortunate enough to be on rotation. But here's the thing about statistics. They work great until they don't. For 18 nights, Gavin Pierce's numbers held. A broken arm here. A drunk driver with lacerations there. Minor cardiac events. Things we could handle with a skeleton crew and sheer force of will. The board started talking about Gavin like he was some kind of visionary. Brilliant cost management. Innovative resource allocation. Finally bringing fiscal responsibility to clinical operations. I bit my tongue and did my job. Kept my head down. Told myself that maybe he was right. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe modern healthcare really could be run like an insurance company. Then came October 17th. I was in the doctor's lounge at 2:52 a.m., drinking my 4th cup of coffee and reviewing discharge orders. The rain was biblical outside. One of those October storms that turns highways into rivers and makes power lines snap like rubber bands. The radio crackled. St. Catherine's, this is Rescue 7. We're 5 minutes out with a Priority 1 trauma. Male, approximately 19 years old. Single vehicle MVA, high-speed impact. Patient is conscious but deteriorating rapidly. Severe chest and leg trauma. Possible arterial bleed. You're going to need your A-team for this one. I looked at Sarah, my one overnight nurse. 26 years old, 3 years of experience, terrified eyes. We were the A-team now. Copy that. Rescue 7. I said into the radio, keeping my voice steady. Trauma Bay 1. We're ready. I wasn't ready. Not even close. We prepped what we could. Trauma Bay. Instruments. For kits. But you can't prep for what you don't have. No cardiothoracic surgeon. No blood bank tech. No backup nurses. No respiratory team. Just me and Sarah, and the hope that this kid's injuries wouldn't exceed our decimated resources. The ambulance bay doors exploded open at 2:57 a.m. The paramedics were drenched, their uniforms plastered to their bodies as they wheeled in the gurney. The kid on it was destroyed. His designer jeans were shredded and soaked with blood. His silk shirt, expensive, I noted distantly, was torn open, exposing a chest covered in bruises. But his face was the worst part. He was conscious. Those wide, terrified eyes locked onto mine with an expression I've seen 1,000 times. Please don't let me die. Talk to me, I shouted, pulling on gloves as they transferred him to our table. The lead paramedic was rattling off vitals even as they moved. Tyler, 19 years old, lost control of his vehicle on the interstate doing approximately 70. Hit the median barrier head-on. Massive deformity to the right leg. Suspected femoral artery rupture. Chest wall trauma. Multiple rib fractures. Problem pneumothorax. We estimate he's lost at least 2 liters. Blood pressure was 90/60 at the scene, now 80/55 and dropping. 2 large-bore IVs running wide open, but we can't keep up with the loss. I grabbed my trauma shears and started cutting away his clothes. The silk shirt came apart easily, some designer brand, probably cost more than my car payment. His chest was a mess of bruising, and I could see the paradoxical movement that screamed flail chest. But it was the leg that was trying to kill him. The right thigh was swollen to twice its normal size, the skin tight and discolored. And I could see it, the rhythmic spurting of bright red arterial blood pumping through the torn muscle with every heartbeat. Femoral artery rupture. One of the fastest ways to bleed to death. Sarah, massive transfusion protocol now. I need O-negative blood, 10 units to start. And get cardio here. This kid's got a flail chest that's going to need surgical stabilization. Sarah ran for the phone while I pressed down hard on the femoral artery, feeling the hot blood pulse against my palms. The pressure had to be perfect, too light, and he bleeds out too hard and you cut off circulation to the leg. The kid, Tyler, grabbed my wrist with surprising strength for someone who'd lost that much blood. Am I going to die? His voice was barely a whisper. I looked into his eyes. 19 years old. Somebody's son. Somebody's whole world. Not if I can help it, kid. Stay with me. What's your name? Tyler. Okay, Tyler. I'm Dr. Rourke. You're in good hands. Just stay awake for me, all right? Tell me about the car. What were you driving? Mustang. 5.0. Dad bought it for my birthday. Nice ride. How fast were you going? Too fast. Way too fast. The rain. I couldn't. Is my dad. His phone, somehow still intact in his pocket, started buzzing against the table. I could see the screen light up. Dad calling. We'll call your dad, Tyler. Right now, I need you to focus on staying awake. Can you do that for me? He nodded weakly. His lips were starting to turn blue. Not good. Sarah came back, and I could tell from her face that something was very wrong. Mason. Her voice was shaking. The blood bank is locked. My heart stopped. What? The blood bank is locked. The overnight tech, I know, he was fired. Where's security? They have a master key. They're trying to find it. It's not on the main ring. They're calling the day supervisor to Sarah. This kid doesn't have time for phone calls. Get the on-call tech on the line. Right now. I don't care if they're in another state. We need that access code. Tyler's blood pressure alarm started screaming. 70/40. I pressed harder on the artery, but I could feel the pulse weakening under my fingers. He was bleeding out faster than we could compensate. Tyler, stay with me. Keep talking. Tell me about your dad. What does he do? He works here. At the hospital. He's the new CFO. The universe has a sick sense of humor. I looked down at the kid on my table. At Tyler Pierce, bleeding out because his own father had decided that having a blood bank tech available at 3 a.m. was redundant. Sarah, called Gavin Pierce. His son is on my table. Her eyes went wide. The CFO? The one who, yes. That one. Call him. Now. I looked back at Tyler. His eyes were starting to glaze over. His grip on my wrist was weakening. Tyler, I need you to stay with me. Keep your eyes open. Talk to me about anything. Your favorite food. Your girlfriend. Anything. Don't have a girlfriend. Dad says I need to focus on med school applications. Of course. Gavin Pierce had this kid's whole life planned out. Probably already picked which hospital he'd work at, which department he'd run. None of that matters when you're bleeding to death at 3 a.m. Page cardio, I told Sarah. We need Dr. Matthews here immediately. Another pause. Another terrible silence. He's on call from home. With this storm, he's saying minimum 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Tyler didn't have 30 minutes. He probably didn't have 10. The phone on the wall rang. Sarah grabbed it, listened, then held it out to me with a strange expression. It's him, Mr. Pierce. I couldn't let go of Tyler's artery. Put him on speaker. A click. Then Gavin Pierce's voice, rough with sleep and panic. This is Pierce. I got a call from the police. They said my son was in an accident. Is he? Do you have him? Is he okay? I looked at Tyler, at his gray skin, his blue lips, his fading consciousness. Mr. Pierce, this is Dr. Rourke. Your son Tyler is in my trauma bay. He has a ruptured femoral artery and severe chest trauma. He needs a massive blood transfusion and immediate cardiothoracic surgery. Oh God, is he going to be okay? I'm coming right now. I'm 10 minutes away. Mr. Pierce, we have a problem. What problem? Just save him. Do whatever you need to. The blood bank is locked. The overnight technician who had the access key was terminated 18 days ago as part of your overnight efficiency project. Security is trying to locate the override code, but it's going to take time. Silence. Dead silence on the line. And our cardiothoracic surgeon is at home because you eliminated on-site overnight coverage for specialists. Dr. Matthews is 30 minutes away. In this storm, maybe longer. More silence. Then a sound like something breaking. No, that's not. Call someone. Break down the door. I'll pay for Mr. Pierce. Your son is bleeding to death on my table. Right now. The blood he needs is locked behind a door we can't open. The surgeon he needs is stuck in traffic. And the team I used to have, the team that could handle this, is gone. Because you decided that staffing for emergencies was wasted capital. Tyler's pressure alarm screamed again. 60/35. I'm coming. Gavin choked out. I'm coming right now. Just, please. The line went dead. I looked at Sarah. How long until we get into that blood bank? They're saying maybe 10 more minutes. The day supervisor is trying to remote access the 10 minutes is too long. Call them back. Tell them to break the door down. I don't care about property damage. This kid is dying. Sarah ran. I was alone with Tyler. His eyes were closing. Tyler, stay with me. Your dad is on his way. He's coming. Just hold on. Tired, he mumbled. So tired. I know, but you can't sleep yet. Stay awake. That's an order. His hand slipped off my wrist. The monitor showed his pressure dropping. 50/30. This was it. The moment Gavin Pierce's acceptable risk became unacceptable. The moment his spreadsheet efficiency met reality at 3 a.m. in a trauma bay. And his son was going to pay the price. I made a decision. Sarah, I shouted, get back in here. We're doing an emergency resuscitative thoracotomy. She appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. Mason, that's without cardio, without backup. I know what it is. And I know what happens if we don't. This kid has maybe 5 minutes left. We crack his chest, clamp his aorta, redirect blood flow to his brain and heart. It's the only chance he's got. The liability, I'll deal with the liability. Give me a scalpel, rib spreaders, every clamp we have. Now, I performed an emergency resuscitative thoracotomy exactly twice in my career. Both times with a full team. Both times with a cardiothoracic surgeon standing by. Both times in control conditions. This was none of those things. This was a Hail Mary. A last-ditch, probably going to fail, definitely going to get me sued attempt to save a kid's life. But it was better than watching him die while we waited for his father's efficient system to fail completely. Sarah laid out the instruments with shaking hands. I grabbed the scalpel. That's when Gavin Pierce crashed through the ER doors. He was wearing pajama pants under a Burberry overcoat. His hair, usually slicked back with whatever product executives use, was sticking up in wild directions. His face was red from crying and running. Where is he? Where's Tyler? He saw his son on the table, saw the blood, saw me standing over him with a scalpel. The sound he made wasn't human. Tyler. Oh God, Tyler, I'm here. Dad's here. He ran forward, but I stepped into his path. Mr. Pierce, step back. That's my son. What are you? Why isn't there blood running? Where's the surgical team? I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd reduced human lives to line items. Who'd fired Jennifer and Mike and all the others to save money that probably went into his bonus. Who'd created this exact nightmare scenario with his spreadsheets and his acceptable risk. The blood is locked in the blood bank, I said, my voice deadly calm. The technician who had the key was terminated 18 days ago. Security is trying to find the override code, but it's taking time. Time your son doesn't have. Then break down the door. I don't care what it costs. As for the surgical team, Dr. Matthews is at home. You eliminated on-site overnight coverage for specialists, remember? He's 30 minutes away. Maybe more in this storm. Gavin's face went from red to white. No, that's not. We had contingencies. The statistics didn't account for this, did they? Didn't account for it being your son on my table at 3 a.m. Didn't account for weather delays. Didn't account for locked doors and missing keys. Didn't account for the human cost of your efficiency. Tyler's monitor screamed, pressure dropping into the 40s. Please, Gavin's voice broke. Please, I'll restore everything. Every position. Double the budget. Triple it. Just save him. Please. Your son doesn't have time for promises, Mr. Pierce. He needs blood and surgery. Right now. I turned back to Tyler. Picked up the scalpel. What are you doing? Gavin whispered. I'm cracking your son's chest. I'm going to clamp his aorta and try to keep him alive until the surgeon arrives. It's a procedure I've done twice in 11 years, both times with full support. I'm doing it now because your overnight efficiency project left me no other choice. You can't, without the specialist, the liability, I'm aware. But I took an oath. And unlike you, I still believe in it. I made the incision along Tyler's fifth intercostal space. The skin parted under the blade. Blood welled up, but not as much as there should have been. He didn't have enough blood left to bleed properly. Gavin fell to his knees. Oh God, what have I done? I didn't answer. I was too busy trying to save his son's life. The next 20 minutes were the longest of my career. I opened Tyler's chest with hands that had done this procedure twice before. Found the aorta, that thick, pulsing vessel carrying what little blood he had left. Clamped it, redirected flow to his brain and heart. Sarah got into the blood bank at 3:17 a.m. She burst through the doors carrying bags of O negative like they were the Holy Grail, which in that moment they were. We pushed blood, plasma, everything we had. Tyler's pressure started climbing. 45, 50, 60. Dr. Matthews crashed through the doors at 3:22 a.m., soaking wet and out of breath. He took one look at the scene, at me with my hands inside a teenager's chest in the ER, and went pale. Jesus Christ, Mason. He's all yours, but we need to move to or now. I've had his aorta clamped for 18 minutes. We rolled Tyler upstairs. Matthews took over. I stepped back, finally let my hands stop shaking, finally let myself feel the adrenaline crash. My scrubs were soaked with blood. Tyler's blood. Blood that had been spilled because of efficiency metrics and acceptable risk calculations. I walked back to the ER. Gavin Pierce was still there, sitting on the floor, back against the wall, staring at nothing. I pulled off my blood-soaked gloves and dropped them at his feet. He's got a chance, I said. Maybe 50-50. The next 48 hours will tell. Gavin looked up at me with hollow eyes. I killed him. I killed my own son. He's not dead yet, but your policies almost did. I didn't think. I never imagined. No, you didn't think. That's the problem with people like you. You see numbers on a screen and forget they represent human beings. You see emergency staff as redundant because you can't see the emergencies coming. You think you can calculate risk, but you can't calculate when someone's son will crash through those doors at 3 a.m. I started to walk away, then stopped. The board is going to hear about this. All of it. The locked blood bank. The missing surgeon. The fired staff. Every second of delay. They're going to see the security footage of you on your knees begging me to save your son. The son who is dying because of your own policies. His face crumpled. Jennifer is coming back. With a raise. Mike is coming back. With a raise. Every single person you cut to hit your numbers is being restored, and you're going to sign off on it. Because if you don't, I walk. And when I walk, this story goes with me. Every news outlet, every medical journal, every social media platform. I dropped my bloody surgical cap next to the gloves. The CFO of St. Catherine's nearly killed his own son to save $1.2 million. That's the headline. That's your legacy. Unless you fix this. Right now. Gavin didn't say anything, just nodded broken. Tyler survived. 3 more surgeries. 6 weeks in the hospital. Months of physical therapy. But he walked out on his own feet. The board held an emergency meeting 72 hours after the incident. I showed up wearing the same blood-stained white coat I'd worn that night. I'd kept it. Evidence. I laid it on their mahogany conference table like a corpse. This is what cost-cutting looks like at 3 a.m., I said. This is Tyler Pierce's blood. Spilled because we didn't have a blood bank tech. Because we didn't have a surgeon on site. Because Gavin Pierce decided that $1.2 million was more important than being ready. I didn't need to say more. They'd seen the security footage. The locked blood bank. Gavin begging. Me cracking a kid's chest in the ER. Because we had no other options. Gavin resigned. Voluntarily, they said. But we all knew the alternative was termination and possible criminal negligence charges. The board offered me his position, chief medical officer, full authority over clinical staffing. I took it, on my terms. The overnight trauma team was restored within a week, fully staffed, hazard pay bonuses. The blood bank got 2 techs instead of 1, and we implemented a policy. No clinical safety position could be eliminated without sign-off from medical staff. I made the hospital expensive again, but I also made it safe. Sometimes late at night, when I'm making rounds and I see the full trauma team ready, the blood bank staff, the cardiothoracic surgeon grabbing coffee instead of sleeping at home, I think about Gavin Pierce. I think about how he learned the hardest lesson in healthcare. You can't negotiate with death using a spreadsheet. Efficiency without humanity isn't efficiency. It's just malpractice in a suit and tie. He built a system designed to save money, then watched in horror as that system nearly killed the only person in the world he actually loved. The emergency department doors don't care about quarterly earnings. They don't care about cost-benefit analysis. They open at 3 a.m. in a storm and present you with someone's son, someone's mother, someone's future, and demand that you be ready. Gavin wasn't ready. He traded readiness for profit, and he paid the price in his son's blood. Don't build a system that can't save your own family, because eventually the emergency doors will open for you. And when they do, you better hope someone better than you made the decisions about who's there to save you. The transplant list is sacred because it's fair. The trauma team is sacred because it's ready. And some things, some lives, are worth more than the money you save by cutting corners. Gavin learned that lesson watching his son die on my table. I hope you never have to learn it the same way. But if you do, don't say nobody warned you. The statistics might be on your side, until they're not. And when that moment comes, when reality meets your spreadsheet at 3 a.m., the only thing that matters is whether you were ready. We're ready now, because I'll be damned if I ever let another CFO kill someone's kid to hit a budget target. The list is the list. The team is the team. And some things don't negotiate. Ever.